As the music plays, we'd like to invite you to close your eyes, simply relax and rest in the presence and hold space.
Namo Namaha niti sakala vigna karadura hamari. Jai Ganesha Gananatha Daya niti sakala vigna karadura hamari. Jai Ganesha Gananatha Daya niti sakala vigna karadura hamari. Jai Ganesha Gananatha Daya niti sakala vigna karadura hamari.
Namaste.
Welcome.
Welcome to our weekly online satsang. Satsang being a Sanskrit word that simply means community of truth or gathering of seekers on the path. You could translate it, I think, as spiritual community. But whenever two or more people who are on the path of awakening and transformation come together, there's a satsang. The Flowering Heart Satsang is comprised of people who are not part of an organization or a membership, anything like that. We come from all over the world, from different continents and countries, from different spiritual and religious backgrounds, from different spiritual teachers and teachings, belief systems. What we have in common is that we are sharing the experience of awakening to our true nature and flowering in oneness with the divine. It's happening to people all over the world. Millions and millions of people are awakening. And that's really good news for humanity because we need to shift from a global culture of competition, conflict, and war to build a new world that's rooted in cooperation, harmony, and peace. And no political philosophy, no religion, nothing like that can bring it about. It requires awakening into a higher state of consciousness. As Einstein said, and I'm loosely paraphrasing, you can't fix a problem in the same state of consciousness you were in when you created it. So humanity needs to rise collectively in consciousness beyond the illusion that we are separate beings, separate selves, all competing and struggling on this planet, afraid of each other, fighting with each other, to awaken to the truth that we are around 8 billion manifestations of one universal consciousness. Consciousness is a word that has no plural. There are not 8 billion human consciousnesses. There's one consciousness which has given birth, expression, manifestation to all that exists. And every aspect of the creation, stars, planets, rocks, trees, oceans, are alive and conscious. And we're all sharing in that consciousness that is the bedrock, if you will, of the universe itself. So that which is conscious in me is the same thing that is conscious in you. When we begin to awaken beyond the boundaries of the separate self, the egoic consciousness, we can look into each other's eyes and see ourself looking back at us through the eyes of the other. And that's the miracle we're moving toward. When enough individuals awaken on planet Earth, the collective consciousness itself will shift. Now there's much conflict, there's much struggle, but everyone that consents to the call of spirit to awaken and transform sends ripples that we can't imagine yet how powerful it is when an individual, so-called, begins to awaken, and that awakened consciousness ripples out through the collective. Awakened consciousness, positive consciousness, is infinitely more powerful than darkness and illusion. So that's the good news. Just hang in there. Things are going to get better. And those of us who are awakening need to join our arms and our hearts around the planet. Because when we join together our awakened consciousness, when we join our hearts in love, in oneness, the effect of our presence is multiplied exponentially in the way that it's touching everyone. So, glad you're here tonight. Thank you. If you're not here tonight, you may be watching this tomorrow or next week. It's amazing. I go in each day and I look and I see how many more people are watching these and leaving comments and being affected, not just when we're doing it live, but in the days that follow. In the United States right now, this is a national holiday called Labor Day. And it's a day when almost no one is working. People are gathering with their families and having recreational times together. And so this week, more than most, people may be tuning in later on. But whenever you tune in, it's now. Just ask yourself, wow, this was recorded a week ago. What time is it? Oh, it's now. And where am I? Here. That's the thing about spirit. Spirit is unbounded by distance and separation and time. It's always now and it's always here, fully present. So you can listen to a recording of an enlightened master, for instance, that may have been made 30, 40, 50 years ago, and there will still be that same incredible presence emanating through that recording, and it will affect you just as if you were there when it happened, if you open your heart. So if you're tuning in after this was done, please do that. We're holding intentions for you that the Flowering Heart blessing will touch you and transform you. We share something called the Flowering Heart blessing, which is a transmission of divine presence, enlightened awareness, consciousness, grace, love. It is a gift directly from the divine source. The divine revealed it to Suzanne and me. We're kind of new to it. It was only about 7 years ago, because it's been around forever. Suzanne and I have had many decades of experience with beautiful divine transmissions of energy and consciousness for many, many years. And they've all been great in their own way. And there are many of them available now. You may have run into them from your own spiritual teacher or community, and that's great. The Flowering Heart blessing has some distinctions. The divine said, let people know this one is not filtered through the prism of an avatar or an enlightened master or a saint or any spiritual teacher. It does not belong to a spiritual hierarchy or organization or tradition. It comes directly from me to those I give it to, and I give it freely as a gift of grace. So there's never a charge, never, for the Flowering Heart blessing. And the divine said, because we were asking all these questions, what about this? What about that? And the divine said, let people know when they receive the Flowering Heart blessing, they are instantly initiated and activated to transfer the blessing themselves. So if you're hearing the sound of my voice and you're connecting with this presence and this energy that's flowing through our satsang tonight, you are fully able from this moment forward to share the Flowering Heart blessing. And what it does for the receiver, well, first, there are different ways it can be given. It can be given, and I love it, through hands-on, through touch. But for this, you have to have the consent, informed consent of the receiver. They need to know that this blessing is going to catalyze the process of awakening. And that's not for the weak of heart, I think we all know. But people need to know it's going to change them. The blessing is going to catalyze and initiate the awakening process, and once that starts, it doesn't stop. It melts blocks and it accelerates the journey, but it also makes it smoother. And it's really a great help from the divine for all those that are seeking awakening and transformation on planet Earth at this time. So, receive it, drink it in, soak it in, share with other people. I was starting to say you can give it through touch with informed consent, but at a distance in meditation or prayer, you can send or flow the Flowering Heart blessing out to any person or persons that you can hold with compassion and love in your heart. So it could be one person, it could be 1 million people, it could be a whole nation, it could be all of humanity. If you can feel that connection in your heart and feel compassion, empathy, and love for all of humanity, you can invite the divine to pour the Flowering Heart blessing through you to everyone. Highly recommended. And for that, you don't need informed consent. I mean, people don't need to give you permission to pray for them, right? Or to wish them well. But certainly for touch and direct transmission through touch, we need to let them know what's going on and have their consent to do it. But do it. That's the main thing. This is something that people often ask, well, I just had this unpleasant encounter with a family member or with my boss or with somebody out there in the world, and what can I do to fix it? Well, we can't fix people and we can't fix everything, but you know what we can do? We can always hold that situation or that person in consciousness and invite the divine to flood them and the whole situation with divine grace. The divine knows exactly what to do. The divine is all-knowing and all-powerful, all-wise, and pure unconditional love. So if we just let the divine do it and let ourselves be an instrument, a vessel of that blessing, amazing things begin to happen. Relationships begin to heal. Things are affected more than you can imagine out halfway around the world, because it's not dependent on your ability or degree of enlightenment or my power, my ability and degree of enlightenment. It's all about the divine flowing through us to help people. So that's what we're doing. And we'll get to that. So so that's what we do in these satsangs. We start with 10 minutes of just opening to the presence, relaxing, holding space. Sometimes I say just relax in silence. Of course, there's music playing. So the silence we're talking about is an outer silence. We can't make the outer world silent. It's nice to have a silent place to meditate or some nice spiritual music, but true inner silence is on the inside. When we just let go of the whole stream of thought and feelings and rest in the presence, rest in the awareness of being, which is bliss. The Sanskrit for that is Satchidananda, which means the awareness of being is bliss. And just rest in that. And that will, you come into a room and sit down, you don't even have to close your eyes and put your hands in a meditation mood or anything. Just invite the divine and just let go, and it will affect everything going on in that space without you tipping anyone off. So do it. And be part of a blessing. I mean, this is a blessing group, and this counts, but it's really, really great to have a group that you meet with locally, and that group could be 2 people, where 2 or more are gathered together in the divine name. The divine is manifestly present in their midst. So meet together regularly with at least someone else you share the journey with, and share the blessing with each other. And if you don't have such a group, start one. Use the initiation 36-minute meditation on floweringheart.org website. We bequeath it to you. Download it, pass it around. It's free, and it really, really is anointed. It's powerful. It works. So after we rest in the silence and then we explain a little bit about the satsang, we open it to questions about the spiritual journey. It could be about the journey, about awakening and divine union and meditation and other planes of existence, or whatever you'd like, some clarity and further insight. When you ask a question, it nudges the divine to pour inspiration through us for you, and we all benefit. So do that. And then later on we'll be sending some very, very powerful Flowering Heart blessings by intention for the needs that you personally have brought with you tonight. Now, we're flowing out the blessing right now. You're soaking in it, so please join us. I mean, if you want to get the most out of this, invite the divine right away to flow through you to all the other participants. And then later on, we'll get to your specific needs and hold strong intentions for divine intervention in your circumstances. And we'll conclude with the open eye light meditation at the end. So it's time to send those questions. Now, hi James. He just threw one right in here.
Okay.
I am asking for insight on the trials of Job. That is a longer discussion. You might. I'll touch on it, but you might actually, talk to me directly about that. Job was a great righteous man in biblical history. His story appears in the Hebrew scriptures that Christians call the Old Testament. But the Hebrew scriptures, the main ones are the Torah, which is the 5 books of Moses, beginning with Genesis. And people often think that Genesis must be the oldest book in the Bible because it says, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and God said, 'Let there be light,' and there was light." And there's the whole creation story, and the story of the fall from grace, and some of the story of the early generations of human history. So I used to think, well, that's the oldest book because they were writing all this down. No, Moses wrote all that down much later on. The oldest book in the Bible is generally understood to be the book of Job. And it's kind of problematic because Job was, it says that Job was the most righteous man alive in his time. Job was the apple of God's eye. God just loved Job. Job lived an exemplary life and was very blessed. Job had multiple children and flocks and fortunes and so it describes a day where God calls the adversary, which in Hebrew is Hasatan, from which we get Satan. But this biblical figure is the adversary of the righteous. And God calls the adversary before him and says, "What have you been up to? I mean, give me an account. Give me a report. I want to know what you've been up to." And basically he says, "I've been roaming to and fro on the surface of the earth, seeing whom I can destroy." That was his gig. Now, some people want to say he's working with God doing that. There's a longer story about this, and only good and perfect gifts come down from above from the Father of lights, in whom there's neither variableness nor shadow of turning. God is pure light. So the explanation of darkness and harmfulness being allowed in the creation is a story I'm not going to try to answer tonight, except in 2 words: free will. And throughout the millennia, we and others have opened the door for things that are not really in our best interest and that God has simply allowed, because to not allow it would be to take away our free will and turn us into automatons. And there's no growth and wisdom in that. We have to learn some things the hard way, right? By making bad decisions. So, what have you been doing, Satan? Well, roaming the surface of the earth. And God gets right to the point and said, "Have you set your heart on my servant Job?" So he's asking the adversary, have you set your heart, are you after my servant Job? And the devil's all like, "Who, me? But I'll tell you what. Yes, of course I want Job, but I can't touch him because you are protecting him." That was his big beef. He said, "I can't get to Job because, God, you're protecting him. But I'll make a gambit. Here's the bet. If you remove your protection from Job, you'll discover he doesn't really love you, God. He only loves you because you protect him, because you give him all this stuff and children and wives and lands and flocks. You've blessed him so much. He loves you because you protect him and you keep me from, I'm the tempter. You won't let me get close to him. So here's the deal. take your hand off of Job, remove the protection, and he will curse you to your face. He doesn't love you, he'll curse you if things don't go his way. Now see, there's the big test. It's easy to love the divine source when everything's going our way. But what about if everything starts to go wrong? You know, a lot of people in that moment turn and go, why are you allowing this, God? I thought I was, you know, your beloved. I thought, you know, I've been living a good life. Why are you letting these horrible things happen to me? Why are you doing this to me? Jesus' first words on the cross when he was crucified were, my God, why have you forsaken me? Now, he knew better than that, okay? He experienced the full emotional darkness of that experience in solidarity with humanity, because we all feel that way sometimes, like God's abandoned us or something. But he knew better than that. He was showing all of us that he gets it. But he knew he was not abandoned, but he felt that way. And so, anyway, we go all the way back to the book of Job, and God says, okay, Satan, I'll take my hand off of him. He's now in your power. Ooh, it just makes me shudder, those words. So Job is in your power, except, I'm drawing the line, you cannot kill him. So that was the thing. You can try to throw anything you want at Job, but you can't kill him. And I stand by the truth. He will not curse me, and he will not curse his God. And Satan said, oh yeah, he will. Watch. So then there's this horrible series of trials. I mean, Job loses everything. His family, his wives, his children, his flocks are all struck by lightning, and Job is struck with boils from the top of his head to the soles of his feet. And you better believe he's going, what's up, God? Why is this happening? Now, the adversary is just pushing him to get mad at God. And Job's trying so hard. And Job, at the beginning of his trials, says, that which I have greatly feared has come upon me. Why? Have you allowed this? I've tried to be a righteous man, you know, nobody's perfect, but I don't get it, God. And there's no answer right away, because this is a temptation, this is a trial that God agreed to, actually in the end for Job's good, but he had to go through some stuff to get to where God was trying to bring him, where he could absolutely stand up and prove that my love for God is not based on that I'm not suffering, that I feel happy and bliss all the time. Because a lot of us think, you know, having a relationship with God is about being in bliss all the time. Well, look at planet Earth. It wasn't like that for Jesus. It wasn't like that for Buddha. It wasn't like that for Gandhi. We can just go down the list, you know, of the great beings. And it wasn't just all bliss and easy for them. But Job, this is the oldest book in the Bible. People knew like nothing about this. Here's the back side of the story. Job had sons that served in the temple, in the Jewish temple, at the altar. And the people, the Hebrew people, would bring their gifts they were offering to God to the temple. And it was the job of Job's sons to receive those gifts and offer up the prayers for the people that were bringing them. But they were doing a lot more than that. They were using their religious position, their spiritual power in the community, to take the daughters of Israel and force them to have sex with them. So Job knew it. It knew it, and he talked to his sons, and he says, you know, this is no good. So Job himself started offering sacrifices up continually to cover the sins of his children. But he was afraid. He was afraid that because of what his children were doing, not what he was doing, that eventually God would judge him. He just knew it. And he lived in daily fear. So when all this horrible stuff happened to him, the statement that reveals it is he said, "That which I have greatly feared continuously, I haven't had rest day or night because of the sinfulness of my children. I knew I was going to get judged, and now it's happened." So he's asking God, why is this happening? And at the same time, he's saying, I know why this is happening. Well, I would say the key isn't that he was judged at all. It's that he was in fear. Fear is a magnet. If he had said, I've had faith all this time that only good and blessing can come to me, and it will just continue forever, and the mercy and the gentleness of God is my lot. No, he was afraid because of what his children were doing. And fear, like faith, will bring healing, faith will bring prosperity, faith will bring awakening, faith will bring a deeper relationship of union with the divine. Fear will do just the opposite. Fear will draw the things you do not want. What did he not want? He did not want to reap what his children were sowing in the temple, raping the daughters of Israel in the temple of God. Here's where he blew it. He was offering sacrifices to cover their sins. What should he have done? Stopped them. He was their father. He was the most righteous, in a way, the most powerful man alive on earth. And instead of stopping his sons, he's just offering blood sacrifice to cover their sins. So he was missing something there. But it was twofold. It was that he didn't stop the offensive action of his children, and he was in fear every day. He needed to work this thing out. That's why the adversary was able to find a niche in his armor. And why, when he came before God, he was actually gloating. Because when he said, "You're not letting me touch him. Just pull back a little bit and see what happens," he already knew what Job's children were doing in the temple. He already knew that Job was not stopping their conduct. And he already knew that Job was living in fear every day of his life and trying to atone for his fear with religious sacrifices, which today wouldn't be offering animals. It would be offering 10 Hail Marys, or 50 Our Fathers, or whatever your particular penance is, but continuing the same behavior. Okay, so everything went wrong. And the book is a hard read, the book of Job, because just when you think it couldn't get worse, it just gets worse. And Job gets so close to blowing it. He's mad at God. He's starting to say, this isn't fair, you're doing me wrong. He hasn't cursed God, but and there's this kid named Elihu. And Elihu was a young man who was a prophet. And Job complained to God, I have no one to stand between me and thee, who can put one hand on me in all of my suffering, and put one hand on God in all of your magnificence, and be an intercessor to bring my cause before God and to bring God's grace upon me. Which is kind of what the Flowering Heart Blessing is. Kind of what grace is altogether. So this young man, Elihu, stood in the gap between Job and God poured through Job a very articulate rebuke of Job through Elihu. And Elihu starts saying, I'm just a kid. You're the elder. You're the ancient one. You're the one that's supposed to know everything. You should be teaching me. But today I must vent what the Spirit has poured into me so I don't blow up. And he tells Job, basically, who are you to question the divine? You should be trusting. See, that was the thing. Job had this fear thing going on. And when bad stuff started to happen, what trust he had was kind of shaken, and he was questioning everything. Anyway, Elihu put him in his place, and Job went, oh, wow, I see it. I see my part in this. And he changed his perspective. He changed his take on it all, and he asked God for mercy. And God completely healed Job and released him from all of his trials. He restored his fortunes. He gave him a new family, new crops, new wealth, and he gave him an extra 140 years of life. He was already like ancient. And God gave him another 140 years, and he lived out the rest of his life. But the trials of Job are an area of Scripture that it is the oldest book, as I said, in the Judeo-Christian Scriptures, but it is also probably the greatest misunderstood. Because traditional religion has said, God tests us. Well, it wasn't the divine doing it. And one of the things that the powers of darkness will do, if they can, is test our integrity and our sincerity. Do we mean it? And because they say, no, you don't. None of you mean it. You humans are losers, and you're liars, and you don't deserve all this favor God is giving you. I don't get why God's so obsessed with you people. So there's been a lot of misunderstanding, but it wasn't God that did any of this to Job. God was not trying Job. The adversary was. God stepped in because he knew it was coming. That's why he called the adversary Satan before his throne and said, what are you trying to do? And Satan was straightforward, and God saved Job's life. If he had not set the limit, the powers of darkness would have destroyed Job. And he turned it all around so that in the end, Job was more enlightened, in deeper union with God, more joyful and fulfilled than ever before. And most people never see the clues in the beginning of the book about what was happening with Job's sons in the temple with the daughters of Israel, and that he was saying, what's up, man? I've been offering sacrifice. I've been living in fear every day of my life. I've been humble. No, humility would have been asking God to help with that child problem and deal with it, and not living in fear. So perfect love casts out fear. God is love. So when we're open to enough of the presence, the fear melts away, and it's transformed into love and trust and faith. So there's a lot more that could be said. I mean, I've taught courses on the book of Job. It needs to be done if you're a brainwashed Christian who got some of what I consider not good teaching that mixes up the character of God. So I don't know if that helps, but hope so. Well, he said, wow, excellent, so I guess it did. You tripped my switch, man. When that name comes up, I go, oh, there's so much that needs to be said to the Hebrew, the Jewish people, to the Christian people about that book. There's so much in there. There's so much light. But it's a horrible read. It's just depressing and all of that. But there's something we need to see. There's certain things that the stuff that happens, we're the ones that open the door. Christ said, I give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you loose on earth will be released in heaven. And that's what happened. Job, through his fear and inaction, opened the door and drew to himself, through the magnetic power of fear, what he didn't want. And we have power. Whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven. Everything that's happening on the earth today, we can't say, oh, God's letting this happen, because that would make us question the love, the authentic love and care of the divine. It's we who have been given freedom, and the keys have opened all these doors and released all this stuff. And we don't even know, most of us don't know that we did it, or how to take the same key and shut those doors and lock them up. That's why we need light. That's why we need wisdom from on high. I'm done. You want to add to that? Okay. And Rose is asking for strength for my children in this life, and we will take that intention with you in a few minutes when we start the intent blessings. We will be doing that. Boy, leave it to James. That's like the hardest question anyone could toss out. Because not only is it from a religious text from the Judeo-Christian scriptures, but it's the trials of Job. I mean, oh God. But I get it. Because a lot of us, and if you've been through something that intense, and a lot of more people on more of a new age mystical path will often call that the dark night of the soul. That is an aspect of the dark night of the soul, because blessings and comforts are withdrawn from the sense realm. Not just our physical senses, but our emotional and spiritual senses feed on joy. The joy of the Lord is our strength. We feed on the joy and the bliss and all that. And in the dark night of the soul, for our benefit, the divine will just for a time withdraw the physical and spiritual and psychological comforts and bliss. Just like Job in a way, just a little picture of Job, so that we have to go deeper. We can't just go, keep pouring that out on me. We go, where did it go? And you have to go deep, 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 and find a deeper connection to the divine that's not rooted in pleasure and personal fulfillment. It's rooted in unconditional love for the source. So that's why it happens. Just saying. Well, I think we're there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeehaw.
Yeehaw.
Let's close our eyes and open our hearts to the presence. Invoke the presence in your heart of hearts. There is no distance between you and the divine. There's never been any separation. That feeling of distance and absence of God that so much of humanity feels, way too much of the time, is in the mind. It's the conditioning, the wrong thinking of the mind. And often we judge ourselves, it's not the divine. And when we judge ourselves, we're ashamed, and so we look away from the light. It's we who are looking away from the light, not the light looking away from us. So, throw your hearts, your minds, your bodies, your relationships, your circumstances, throw it all wide open to the presence now, who loves you absolutely and unconditionally. And receive the grace that's being poured out to you from every direction, from within, from without, from above, from below. You are being flooded with grace. We call it the Flowering Heart Blessing. Receive, receive, receive. It's okay to ask once, but the divine already knows what you're asking before you do. The divine knows what you need before you know you need it. And the divine knows exactly how to give it to you because it is all wise and all powerful. So simply, in trust, open to receive and drink in the blessing of the divine pouring out to you now. sitting in a circle together, a blessing circle. Lift up your hands with your palms open, facing forward, and invite the presence to pour the flowering heart blessing through you to all the others sitting in the circle, knowing it's coming back to you again through all of them. In this case, giving can be more blessed and powerful and transforming than receiving. So give the blessing. Let it pour through you to everyone else. Now relax your hands. Whenever you're ready, open your eyes and begin to make direct eye contact with Suzanne and or me. Let's make sure you're looking continually at least one of our eyes as we enter the light meditation. In this meditation, Suzanne and I are flooded with the presence, with divine grace, and it pours through every part of our being to you, especially through our eyes, which are called the doorways of the soul. There's nothing you need to do but just keep connecting and looking at our eyes, and the light streams out through our eyes, in through your eyes, into your heart, causing the fires of awakening and divine love and transformation within you to burn brighter and brighter. your eyes now. Meditate with us for a few more minutes as the grace you've received settles within you. Keep meditating as long as you like, and or lie in Shavasana, which is find a place nearby you can lie on your back with your eyes closed, your arms loosely at your sides with your palms open, turned upward, and just let yourself lay in the presence and dissolve in gratitude and love with the divine. We love you guys a lot.
Much love, light, and blessings.
Until we meet again, know that the divine within us beholds and acknowledges the divine in you that is the center of your being. We acknowledge that and we bow to you. Namaste.
Namaste.